We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity with young men. Um, Luke, what did you just observe?
He hopped off Zoom or he hopped off.
Before that,
Not sure.
what I observed is you and or Kenny might not be the most proactive people in the world, thinking into the future, and or you and or Kenny might not. This is what's interesting to me. I find it seems to be, it seems to be mostly with analytics, but, maybe I'm just prejudiced against them. Maybe it's all four personalities, but it's called niggle. It's a word, and it's when a wife says to a husband, you know, or when a husband says to his wife, how much did this cost? And she said $10, and he says it wasn't $10. It was $10.03. It's like, really? So what they do is I find myself continually saying, Mark, you got to be perfect in your communication. Because if you don't, people are going to go ahead and shut down. They're going to be, well, that's not, you were wrong. You were wrong on this one little thing. It's like, really? Cheapers. Like, I don't know, what a loss. And so, anyways, so you and or Kenny likely went ahead and didn't communicate to Nathan. Would that be fair to say?
Probably.
So Nora, what suggestions would you give to Kenny and Luke to have that be a life changing? How would you suggest, Nora, for them to be a great student?
Are you talking about like the time? Like not communicating Fridays is a different time?
It could be that. It could be that, they didn't communicate yeah, different time, different setup, different structure. They didn't communicate much of anything or anything. I don't know. But no, what I was talking about with you is how to teach. Do you mind if I go ahead and will it irritate you? Because don't want to irritate you. Will it irritate you if I go ahead and say you're the you're the expert student? Would that irritate you? Because I don't want to do that.
No, it's fine.
Okay, so you're an expert student. Like, how do you go ahead and teach them to be expert students?
I'm not sure.
Well, shoot, that's disappointing. Dang. So here's one tip. Like, how do you know this, Mark? Right? So the first tip in being an expert student is to understand that the small things can reveal big things. It's things that you think, you know, the things that you think don't matter. Like, it's not that big a deal, Mark. You're just this and this and this. And that can go ahead and be a huge issue. Like, I learned that when I was in my 20s. So they have something in the mortgage industry called a good faith estimate. And I'm studying personalities. And I'm like, I can see that where if your good faith estimate is 10 cents off, the I could see that. I could see that in others and myself because I'm pretty analytic. And so the analytic personality, if you make a mistake, they don't trust you. If you make a perceived mistake, they don't trust you. They can be wrong, But again, one of the rules, never get in an argument with an analytic, because even if they're wrong, they have enough data to make it look like they're right. And so to understand the significance of things, people, like there's a discussion with Rosanna and Stan and Elaine and myself. Did you guys read that thread about decision making?
Some of it.
So that's a suggestion that I would go ahead and give to all of you is don't do some, do all. Because 99% of your benefit's going to come in the last 1%. I mean, I'm doing some, I guess, I suppose is better than doing none, I would think. But that's not true as it relates to amoxicillin, is it? Well, I'm sorry, penicillin. Are you guys aware of that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So in life, sometimes it might be better. Like I was 20 years old. Yeah, I was 20 years old. And I just had got my associate's degree and I was getting maybe I was 21. Yeah, I was 21. I just got my associate's degree, my 2-year degree, and went to Northern Illinois University. And I was in brand new college, brand new class, kind of overwhelming a bit. And I took a class I think it was on statistics, and there was a model, a computer simulation on a case study, and you had 3 options. You could choose option A, B, or C. And so how to be a good student is be humble. Be really humble. Like it's fascinating to me on how, I've got over 40 years of business experience. I've got 3 degrees in business. Like I got a lot of experience, a lot of education, a lot of stuff. And I've written books on it's crazy how smart I am. But I'm not. Jojo, who's 8 years old, she can see something, understand something in business that, that I don't. So it's my area of expertise. So can Nora learn something from somebody who's never flown an airplane before? She can, about being a better pilot. Can Kenny learn something about being a police officer, when he's 20 years into the force? Well, he can if he's humble. She can if she's humble. If they're not humble, they're not going to learn. Like that little 5-year-old boy that went ahead and, held me accountable when none of the other adults did when I said I wasn't praying with my wife. And man, he was relentless. I learned something from him about coaching. So if we're not humble, we won't be good students. We just won't. If we're not curious with questions, we're not going to be good students. If we don't learn to see and think and do in different ways, we're not going to be good students. If we don't learn to say, this is how I see the past, but the past may be very, very different than what I remember it to be, or the meaning of the past might have totally different meaning. In the present, what I'm seeing might not be actually what's there. There might be something totally different. And the future, what do you do about that? And then you go into feelings, and like my feelings might be wrong. They might just be wrong. So in this class, there was a group of, I think, 5 of us in the group, and we had to go through and read the case study. And then there was a computer simulation. So you plug in your answers, and the whole group wanted to go with option C. And I thought option A was the best option. So comes surprising to you guys. Like, I wish I could have been hanging out with you guys when I was 21. That'd have been fun. For you, Mark, or us? Yeah, I don't know. And so So I sold them hard. I mean, I'm like, no, option A. I was so confident I was right. I had everything. I mean, I was right. Option A was the right option. And man, was I 21. And man, I got this down. And the other four people in the group, they don't know what they're doing. And I sold them hard and heavy, and they wouldn't give. They would not give. They're like, nope. But then they did want to compromise. They said, hey, Mark, let's go with option B. And I'm like, nope, nope, don't go with option B. Do not compromise, because I think a compromise is worse than either option. And the case study at the case study at the end, option C, option C was the best option. I was wrong. And I was
What?
so Luke struggles with internalization.
So what do you, because I've heard that story before and I've thought about it. I'm like, I'm not gonna bring it up. But now that you say it
Yeah,
again,
because
I might actually.
I already know what you're going to say.
What am I gonna say?
You're going to say, yeah, but you were still right.
No, that's not what I was gonna say.
Interesting.
What I was gonna say is I think it's a lesson for me, kind of what I got out of the story is if if maybe if I'm not on a decision, if I don't come in and if I'm more willing to just okay, submit to the others, then option B would have never come up. Then it would have just the worst option would have never come up. Does that make sense?
Why would you said at the beginning, like, yeah, I wasn't going to bring it up. That's weird. That's just weird. Like, what could, why would you bring that up?
I don't know.
Oh, I think you do.
Why did I bring it up?
Uh-huh. I think you do know why.
No, I'm asking you because I don't know that I do.
I mean, it makes no sense. Kenny, Luke, do either of you understand why Nora would bring it up?
No, I do not.
Really? It makes no sense. Why wouldn't you bring it up? It's just, it's not a big deal. It's like, why wouldn't you ask that question? Like, that makes no sense at all. Did you ask yourself, Nora? Did you go, like, why wouldn't I, like, what's wrong? What could possibly go wrong with, with bringing that up? Like, it's just weird. So now is when it gets hard. Do I go ahead and let you, the three of you, figure it out? Or do I give you the answer? I don't know. I think one of the biggest mistakes I make is I give people answers. And so you know, did you guys see what Luke did?
Yeah,
What did he do? And
he
why
was
did he
su-
do it? What did Luke do and why did he do it?
he was surprised that you were wrong.
No, he wasn't surprised I was wrong. Luke, do you know what you did?
Sarcasm?
Yeah. Yeah. Smart ass response. So it's funny in the factories, there's a lot of trash talk. I kind of, I wouldn't say, I kind of am a connoisseur of trash talk. Like like, I think trash talk is really cool. I think it's like, I think it's really cool when it's appropriate. When it's not, then maybe not. And so the sarcasm, so why did Luke? Okay, so there's sarcasm. So Luke is doing sarcasm. I love sarcasm too. So Jonathan got me a shirt. It said, or a sign, I forget which one it was. It says, "My sarcasm is a defense against your stupidity." And that's often where sarcasm is used. People are just stupid. So you just use sarcasm, like really. But, you know, Luke's, do you know what your motivation behind the sarcasm was, Luke?
Maybe get people to smile. Not sure.
Uh, you know, at whose expense, Luke?
I would maybe to do everyone's.
Well, it's not everyone's expense. If everyone's laughing, it's at one person's expense. It's a
Gotcha.
mud.
Yours.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
which is fine, whatever. It's kind of humorous. So I think it's to gain attention because you're an expressive. You just want the attention. So you're good at sarcasm, you're good at whatever, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. You might get smacked down, but it's not a problem, right?
If you can take it, which you don't
Well,
give it.
no, what you do is you just have a young lady around you, and she'll just go ahead and think of you as just a poor sap, a little boy who's defenseless, and she'll go, why? I don't know, maybe to teach him to be a man, to say, hey, you better go ahead. You better learn how to use what you do because you're going to get smacked down. And it might cost you and other people around you a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And so women won't do that. They're at the same frequency you're at. They don't like being smacked down. So they're going to defend you so you can defend them. And you all go ahead and you're all flying together, but it's at a very low dangerous level or superficial surface level. And it's just like it gets boring. Like, okay, you're a flight simulator. You're not flying in real life. So then I go ahead and say to them, maybe so Nora's heard the story, but she hasn't figured it out. The thing that's most fascinating, most revealing is that she didn't want to go ahead and say, like, that makes no sense. Why wouldn't you ask that question? Like, it makes no sense. But it does if you understand. It makes all the sense in the world. It's like, oh my goodness, that makes all the sense in the world. But I think you both will probably be like Nora and you won't see it, which is fine. It's okay. Right. And so, but then you're not self aware. So is it? Is it? So, so then so then we did that. I said, no, don't do it. Do one or the other. Do one or the other. And so it turned out that C option was the best. Their option was the best. So I internalized that at 21 that Mark, you're not that smart. I've never forgotten that. 41 years later, I wrote, Mark, Kenny, Luke, and Nora can be right, and you're wrong. See, I don't know if you guys have internalized that lesson. I don't think you, I don't, it doesn't seem to me. What do I know? I'm not judging. It's an observation. I don't know if you guys have seen that, observed that. I think it might be a certain type of upbringing that you've had. Like, we're really smart. Okay. Like, okay. And if there's two or three of us that agree on something, we must be really smart. Okay, copy that. And so I learned something. What I learned is Mark, you're not that smart. That's the most important lesson right there. Don't ever forget that, Mark. 21 years old, and I'm like, don't ever forget that. Don't ever forget you're not that smart. Be humble. The second lesson that I learned is that, so while I was really stupid or ignorant, maybe, there was an intuition that I had, an instinct that I had that sometimes the compromise is worse than either option. Questions?
Why is the compromise worse?
Um, Nora, Kenny, can you guys explain it to him?
Um, not sure.
So Nora's got an awareness on it. Kenny, you got thoughts?
When you think of thinking of compromise, then you're trying to consider both parties, their feelings, maybe, or their opinions, perspectives, and that if you add that to the judgment decision making, then that could throw everything off.
Nice. So yeah, so that it might, like, both parties might not be happy. It might, and they might, or might be wrong. Like sometimes, sometimes there's, sometimes you compromise. Many times, maybe most of the time, compromise is the best. But in some situations, it's not. So you try to make two people happy, and you make them both ticked at you. Like, get used to that. You want to get married? You want to be a husband? You want to be a husband and a father? Get used to that. That happens all the time. You're like, really trying to make my wife happy, trying to make my kids happy, and they're both unhappy with me. Or like with women, like there were two women and they were older than me and they were salespeople. One was the president's wife and one was the top producer. Man, they were going after each other like cats. Like it was a cat fight. Me, I'm this young, inexperienced sales manager. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to help them. I'm going to go in. I'll go in and help this situation. I go in, and what happens to me?
You get thrown in the cat fight.
Oh, no, not thrown in. The two cats, they turn. This is, if you want to get two people together, get a greater enemy. I became the enemy. And this is, again, one of them was the president's wife. But after I left that company, I don't know, I ran into her at the store or something 5 years later, and she says, Mark, she gives me a big old hug. And she's like, Mark, I miss you so much, which is fascinating, because I don't get that a lot. And so I'm like, that's so cool. It's so cool to see you, Sally. Like, I'm curious. Like, when somebody gives you a compliment, find out why, because you don't necessarily know what you think. Well, you're so charming and nice, and you got a great sense of humor. Nope, not that. So I said, what do you miss the most, Sally? And she said, the quarterly meetings you and I had. Copy that. Like the graphs and the charts, Mark. Man, you knew my business better than I do it. Like you, best sales manager ever. Like you were just, man, we'd meet and you say, look at this. And a year ago you had this and this, and this is how we're going to do this. She said, I just love that. I'm like, cool, Sally. That's awesome. Questions? So it still doesn't explain why Nora, like, I mean, do you guys both see the benefit of asking that question? Like, that's a great question. That's awesome.
I think it connects to your observation where compromise is maybe sometimes worse than either choice.
Yeah, but why would Nora be afraid to ask that? Why wouldn't she want to ask that question? It makes no sense. Like, why wouldn't you ask that question? It's a great question. Like, it's a great question.
Maybe because she grew up Amish.
I won't argue with you there. But what does that mean?
Maybe it's knowing when to challenge a man and when not to, and not always getting it right.
Right. That's exactly right. So if she goes ahead and learns, don't challenge him. Just just ask. But I did that once. Did you? Maybe you did, maybe you did. Not saying you did or did. But she learned yesterday, just because something doesn't happen once doesn't mean you never do it again. Like, so maybe don't go in as a challenging, maybe go in as humble. Like, I'm just curious, like rather than challenging, maybe you don't challenge, maybe you go in humble and really sincere. Like, I'm sincere. I'm not saying you're wrong. Like when you go in on the attack, you know,
So what do you do when you think like, or how do you determine that for, I guess, the other person? Because if you think that you're going in curious and humble, and then the other person doesn't perceive you to do that, like, how do you determine that?
right. And Luke, this comes back to you, buddy.
To me,
How?
Are you kidding, Nora?
the first thing that came to mind was you asked that question. It's asking the right questions in the right tone.
Which is fascinating, isn't it, Nora? Isn't that fascinating? Do you find that as humorous as I do, Nora?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Why is that fascinating?
Because the situation she's talking about, I'm pretty sure, is she went ahead and the whole conversation is about you, Luke, where she thought I was, you know, uh, a little harsh on you or something on you, and so she came to your defense, and I'm like, are you kidding? And
And
I
my perception of the conversation was I came on a call, things seemed heated, and I was curious as to like why the situation or the call went the way it did. Was there something that had happened or whatever? I was being curious, and
right.
I
And Luke made an observation. You might not have been curious. Maybe you were, well, you kind of, in this situation too, you went ahead and you acknowledged, when do you confront a man? You weren't being like the reason you didn't go ahead and say it is because you were confrontational. You weren't curious, not with Luke. With this other situation, we revealed the truth, and this truth might actually be with Luke's too. Maybe you weren't curious. Maybe you were confrontational. Maybe it was the voice, which is fascinating because you were the one that was saying that my voice wasn't quite exactly right with Luke when maybe your voice wasn't quite exactly right with me. Fascinating. Very, very fascinating. So, in answer to your question, Kenny, how do you go ahead and prepare, for wife and children? You have these kind of conversations. They're not pleasant, but you'll get used to them. You'll go, huh? That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, if you can go ahead and watch tone, watch tone. Um, and so often we don't understand what our tone is conveying. And that's all around. That's not just with men. Men are not women. Their tone, they do not. Holy cow. Don't even get me going on that. Jeepers. So, anyone else have anything else? So, this is where it gets to be deep. This is where it gets to be good. This is good stuff. This is really good stuff. And so, Luke has caused Nora and I a lot of stress, a lot of pain, and he didn't even know it. Is it Luke's fault? It's not. It's just like what I had said to my kids when Roseanne and I would go ahead and get in arguments, discussion when Dad was quiet, not slamming doors, not yelling, screaming, just quiet. The kids knew Dad is not a happy camper. Like he is really ticked. And it's because in most situations, it's because of how Rosanna handled the kids. And so I tell the kids, I was intentional with the kids, and I said, the issues you and your mom and I have are not you guys' fault. It's not your fault. It's like pressure in a pipe. You guys are pressure in a pipe. You guys aren't causing the issues with mom and I. You're not causing those. You're not the cause. Because I never wanted the kids to think that they were the cause of anything. Because they're not. All they do is they reveal. It's the pressure. Like the water doesn't cause the leak in the pipe. The leak in the pipe is in the pipe, but the water reveals the leak. Luke, isn't the cause of conflict and stress and stuff between Nora and I. He's not the cause. He just revealed it, for which I'm thankful. So often in cause and effect, we're not what it seems to be. So this has been, I don't know, you guys can say if this is a favorite. I would rate this at least a 4-star. I mean, I think this is pretty good. Always remember we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. We'll see you guys. Bye-bye.